Thank you for joining us for another episode of Think Your Way to an Epic Life. And I have a returning guest today. He hasn't been with us for 2 years, and boy, have there been some changes. It's going to be really exciting. He's going into his 40s, and he's determined to go into his 40s in the best health and the best mental capacity that he possibly can. And so we're going to explore what that meant for him and all the changes that he's gone through. So thank you very much. So, Sean, we really appreciate you taking the time to come back after a couple years to give us an update. How are things going?
Great.
Yeah?
I'm excited to share my journey since the last time.
Yeah. It seems to me like you've come a long way. I ran into you the other day, and guys, I'm looking at him. I'm like, what happened to you? How much weight have you lost?
So at my heaviest, I was at 280. Beginning of the year, I was probably about 265, 270. And right now, I'm right under 230. So, I mean, collectively, probably 50 pounds, but 40 in the past. But I mean, I'm also 6'3", so, you know, it wasn't as obvious that I lost so much weight, but it was to a lot of people.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. And I'm not very observant. Generally, I can miss things like that.
Yeah.
But so what else has changed since we talked 2 years ago?
So I rewatched the interview, and we had talked a lot about mindset, and all that has still been the same. But I mean, there was a point there where, I was not as healthy as I should have been. And right when the beginning of the year, I turned 39 in January. We have the same birthday.
We share a birthday.
And so I turned 39, and I had just gone through a long-term relationship breakup. I ended an engagement. And so, I was going out a lot. I had already been eating unhealthy. I was drinking a lot. I was still doing pretty high volume in real estate, so that wasn't hurting, but my body wasn't looking like I remember it, and I wasn't feeling full of energy. So in February, I actually dislocated my shoulder. It also broke, so I had to have emergency surgery. I was in the hospital for about 4 days. So what else can you do in there besides look at your phone? I was watching golf, luckily, that was on, and think. And so I kept thinking to myself, man, you need to change this. All right, you're restarting, being single again at 39. You're overweight. You're not healthy. All these things went through my head. I was just thinking, and I'm like, man, I need to quit drinking. I need to get myself back in the gym. I need to rehab this shoulder, which it's still, it's been about 7 months, and it's coming back, luckily. But I just had a lot of thoughts in my head. I'm like, okay, you're going to be 40 in 11 months. Do you really want to go into your 40s, 50s, 60s the way you've been? I mean, yeah, success was great, but I wasn't happy. And so I made that change.
Whew, that's a whole lot to unpack. You guys, this is going to be fun. Let's get into this.
Yeah.
So something that was bad, where you broke a bone and you had emergency, turned into something that has changed you completely.
Yeah.
So, wow. So what do you have to say about that?
I mean, I don't know what it was that happened. I mean, obviously it was, God telling me, slow down and get it together. Maybe, I don't know. But I just know I needed to get healthier, and I needed to get it together. And that's even made my business exponentially better, which, like we had talked before, I was doing well before, but now it's like I used to wake up at 5 and go to the gym. I used to do all these things. I ate healthy-ish. I still drank. I still did the things I shouldn't be doing. So if you clip back to the 2 years ago, you'll see me with a little more double chin, a little heavier. Now I'm definitely feeling better. I wake up at 4:30 in the morning. I definitely go to the gym. I don't drink. I only eat clean. I'll have a sweet once in a while, but my brain is trained not to even want that now. And it's so crazy how a mindset can just change everything.
Okay, so that's what this is. Think Your Way to an Epic Life.
Yeah.
And there are people that are watching that are still drinking. We're gonna break all of it apart for you guys, but they're still drinking, and they don't want to. They don't like the way it makes them feel. However, they feel like they have to fit in. Speak to that for us.
Well, for the fitting in, I get that. I never drank to fit in. I drank just because it was fun, and I had fun. I mean, I was in a fraternity in college, went straight from frat boy life into real estate, which was another party. And so that was what I did. And I was, I enjoyed it. I had fun. So I guess it was more of a mindset that I saw these successful men, successful guys in our market they weren't drinking, they're getting healthy, because that's what they say. Like, you can't buy a healthy like life, like a healthy body. You can't buy that. Everything, I could buy the cars, I could buy the watches, I could buy the houses, all that shit, but I can't, I can't buy that health. And so they always say that it's like the ultimate flex is having a healthy body. And so I just changed that in my mind. I mean, I wasn't ready to, though, all those other years. I still like drinking and eating pizza and wings and whatever. And now it's like, I just eat for fuel and it's fine. I don't really miss it. I still go out to dinner and I'll have salmon and veggies, like whatever, but it's like, I enjoy the healthier food now too.
It tastes better, doesn't it?
Yeah. I mean, I guess it's probably the pellet also. And then the drinking, yeah, I mean, I miss it with when we're out doing stuff, but it was never anything to fit in, because now it's like I observe a lot more, and it's just, I don't know, it's been a lot better.
So are you still putting yourself in social situations with alcohol?
Oh, yeah.
Aren't you glad you're not one of them anymore?
Yeah. I mean, it helps. Definitely. I mean, I go, and, some of my friends weren't heavy drinkers, but I did see that I was probably one of the heavier ones. And because I was probably the bad influence on a lot of the guys, because I was like on the golf course, like, let's take a shot at this hole. Let's take a shot here. I was, the party guy.
Right.
And I still feel like I'm fun and outgoing without it. And so, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. Okay. So alcohol was never, you weren't an alcoholic, or you couldn't have just stopped. Did you stop cold turkey?
Yeah. I mean, I was definitely borderline. I mean, I wouldn't say I wasn't. I definitely was. And so it was hard at the beginning, because that's how, in our industry, there's anxiety and there's a lot of things. And it's like, and then, like I told you, I had gone through the breakup and I was dealing with that, and starting to date again, you go on dates. And so it's like, you want to take the edge off, or long day, you want to take the edge off. So it was definitely a little challenging. It still is, because I'm like, no, I don't like to drink right now, but I'm like, no, I'm not going to go back to that lifestyle.
What is a day in the life? Let's just start with the morning. What does your morning look like? You get up at 4:30.
Yeah, so I wake up at 4:30. I brush my teeth, put the dogs out. I usually make coffee, but lately I've been into like some workout energy drinks. I take my vitamins. Then I'll hang out. I'll watch the news for a little bit, and I usually leave for the gym at about 5:30, and I'm at the gym for about 2 hours. And I do the gym every day now. I do a warm up for my shoulder on the arm bike, and then I do lifting, abs, cardio, and sauna. So I'll do cardio, abs, and sauna every day, no matter what. And the lifting just depends if I'll have time. Like today, I didn't lift because I didn't have time. I didn't want to be late for this interview. And so I did that. And then I go home, I make my breakfast, which is usually the same thing. It's, it's really hot. My diet's really high protein. I eat about 250 to 270 grams of protein a day, which is a lot, because I weigh 230. So I'm having more than a gram per pound. And so I have, high protein for breakfast, eggs, some sort of a meat, usually ground turkey. And then I put a lot of veggies in that because I need the veggies. And then I prepare my lunch, which is usually a veggie, a lean meat, so ground turkey or chicken. That's my only carb is rice. So I put the 1 cup of jasmine rice, and I usually don't have dinner. I'll have like a snack for dinner time. And then I'll have, before I go to the gym, I'm drinking a protein shake, and then I have one afterwards, and then I have a protein bar. So yeah, that's how I get all my protein in. So that's usually and then after the gym, I come to the office. I'm here till about 5 or 6, then I go home, relax. I'll go for a walk or something like that, and that's kind of it.
Okay. All right. So as far as business goes, you're still a huge producing realtor and an investor.
Yeah.
Where are you at in those two arenas?
So, I mean, I'm still a realtor. I mean, you never really stop doing that, but I've been mostly wholesaling and flipping right now. It just, I get in moods where I'm like, okay, I want to do this, I want to do that, but it's always still going to be real estate related. And so, yeah, so I have 2 flips on the market right now. I just put another deal under contract that was off market that I'm buying. I don't know if I'm going to flip or wholesale that. We're still figuring that out. And so I just run numbers all day. I analyze deals and I do that kind of stuff. I started a coaching program. So I coach with, I don't know, a lot of people know Justin Waller and Chris Rude. I do coaching with them. And so that's for investing Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So coaching with them probably also gives you insider tips to deals that are available.
No, because these guys are like national. Like these guys are pretty big. Like,
Okay.
yeah. So
Okay.
it's more of just like work in the market and work in your market and giving. It's just an accountability thing.
Sure. Sure. Okay. Very cool. And so, as far as business goes, you're home by 5. You're chilling.
I'm not usually home by 5. I usually leave here about 5 or 6. But then I go to the store. Like if I leave here at 5, then I'm going to the store. I'm not usually home till about 6, 6:30, 7.
Okay.
I try not to be too. I try not to relax too much.
I got you.
Yeah.
So mindset is super, super important to you. Talk to me about what is your mental diet?
So even when I was struggling with all those things, like not eating right, going through a breakup, going through all these things, I always tried to remain positive because your mind is controlling everything. So I have never not thought that I was not a successful person. So as long as you're always thinking these things, but you also have to really believe it. A lot of people don't believe it. A lot of people will think it or they'll do their written affirmations and stuff. Like I truly believe like I am successful. And I feel like once a negative thought comes in, you have to either cut it right away or you have to be conscious of all these things. And that's what we've talked about in the last episode is where you can't keep going on this downward spiral just, and it doesn't work that way. But a lot of people can't consciously stop that. And
So what is your hint? Tell them how.
I mean, it's just years of practice, I guess.
So a negative thought comes in, what happens next?
Well, you have to be very self-aware with yourself and honest with yourself. Because if you're not honest with yourself and can't realize like, hey, I'm talking badly about someone or myself, or I'm not thinking the way I should be thinking, you have to do it. If you're not going to take that self-accountability, then it's ruined,
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, and it is so rare for people to ever take a look at themselves and really try to heal things. And a lot of things that you need to heal, guys, a lot of those things happened before you were 6 years old, right? There's just a lot. And so that you didn't create. It wasn't you that created a lot of what you believe, right? I believe this and I'm going to stand on this, and it wasn't even you.
Most of mine was created by me, but
Was it?
I can take accountability for it. Yeah, because I mean, I don't know. Growing up, I was kind of a little kind of nerdy, I guess you could say, through elementary, which is fine because no one really cares in that. But then middle school, I was kind of I was in the cool crowd, but I was picked on. But then high school came and I got big and played football, and I was kind of like a preppy jock, a little bullyish. And then I kind of was a little bully in college and like fraternity and all that stuff. And so, yes, I mean, I definitely can tell I've played a part in my own bad boys decisions that I made. But I mean, it is what it is. So.
How cool, though, to be on the other side of it and be that honest and vulnerable. Thank you for being that honest and vulnerable because, we all have things in our past that we wish we were different. We wish we had been different or whatever.
I don't wish anything different, though. It's just who I am. I just know that I'm growing from those things, but I don't wish I changed anything because a lot of that I learned how to be how I am just through all those things.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So no regrets with the people that you bullied or any of that?
I mean, no, because they probably needed it too. Let's be honest. But, and I mean, yeah, maybe, I mean, I don't know. I mean, right now, though, if I do say something that's rude, because I know I can be kind of difficult.
Abrupt.
A little bit. And so now I do feel bad about it. And I actually will apologize to somebody and say, look, I'm sorry. I shouldn't have gone there. But I'm working a lot now on being stoic. Like whenever I have a confrontation or something, because normally I would pop off. I would be the first person just to lose my temper, pop off, and just say whatever. And now, not drinking, not having a hangover, you're not as irritable, but I'm able to think more and listen to what they're saying, and I'm a little more quiet sometimes, and I'm trying to be calmer because I used to love to be the intimidating one. At 6'3", you're a big dude, you're going to be intimidating. And now it's I try not to use those tactics in anything anymore. So
that's a much more manly way to go about it, huh?
I guess you grow up. It's almost 40. That's what happens.
Almost 40. Okay, yeah. So let's talk about that.
Oh, yeah.
You're going into your 40s.
Yeah.
And you said earlier that you didn't want to go into your 40s, 50s, 60s in the condition that you were in.
Yeah.
What is it about those birthdays that make us stop and go, wait a minute?
I guess they're just growing markers. Like, you should be at a certain point in your life by certain times. I mean, I know a lot of young kids are like, oh, I want to be a millionaire by 25. Okay, well, maybe it'll happen to a select 0.005% of them. But if you're not hitting mile markers by certain times, then, I mean, that's also their personal goals. I don't know what their personal goals are. But I know for myself, I had fun in my 20s. I was building in my 30s. And now in my 40s, I want to use everything I've learned to just continue to grow and be better. Like, I mean, I don't have children, which I kind of thought I would have by 40. That's probably not going to happen. But I mean, I can still grow and do other things. And that's kind of where I had decided. And so, yeah, because I mean, today is August 29th. So I turn 40 January 10th. And so, yeah, I have months to do that. And I don't want to make that a goal to be like, I want to be the healthiest person by 40. I want to be at my healthiest lifestyle by 40, to carry that lifestyle into the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, maybe not. I mean, my grandparents lived till their 90s, so I may,
Well, you should, with the changes in lifestyle that you're doing now. The human body is amazing in what it can recover and go on. Okay, so who is your hero?
I don't know. I never really thought about that, actually. Well, I guess I have. I wouldn't say hero, but I would say an idol, somebody I've idolized. And it was when I was 20, I think, or 21, I was in my fraternity, and there was this attorney in town that was a pretty big name. And he was actually an alum of our fraternity. He owned our fraternity house. And I was like, okay, I mean, I switched my major a million times. And finally at the end, I was like, okay, I'm going to be pre-law. I never actually went with it, but I was pre-law, and I got a job working with him because he employed a bunch of us. It was Turner Branch. And I learned so much from that man. He came from nothing, small town Georgia. He went to the military. He got his law degree, went to Baylor Law, started a huge company here. And, when he died, UNM Field was Branch Field because he donated like $2.1 million or something to them at the end. He had his own private jet. I used to drive his Aston Martin around. So talk about visualizing. I had real life visualizing before I even knew it. I would sit in that car and drive it, and I would be like, oh, this is awesome. I'd be at his house on Rio Grande and be like, this is awesome. So I got to know all that, but I also got to learn a lot of things from him I didn't even learn business from him because obviously I wasn't an attorney and I was young. I didn't really pay attention, but I got to see how a successful human operates. And the way he was just, people feared the man. He was a little old man, but they were still afraid of him because of who he was, his intelligence. He was just so direct on things. And he would tell us, look, if you ever make a mistake, the worst thing you could do is ever try and talk out of why you did it. Just own up to it. People will respect that way more.
Amen.
And so that's why, like, now I'm just like, yeah, I did. I mean, what am I, like, I'm not going to make an excuse for it, but I just learned so much from him. And that's probably who I would say.
That is so cool that you had that opportunity. Mm-hmm. In that you brought up manifesting. Mm-hmm. So you've manifested some pretty cool stuff in your world. Can you go into that a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, I guess it started because, like, I don't know, I had first gotten in real estate and I started watching The Secret. And so I kind of was watching, I was trying to get it. Like, I was probably 2 years in real estate when I saw The Secret, and I still didn't get it. I didn't understand it. But then I was told one time, like, it's like you have to just like visualize these things. And I didn't really understand the believing part yet. Like, you have to believe it. And so what I would do is, like, I guess I started kind of obsessing over things, and they all kind of came true. Like, I remember when I wanted a new car, when I got into real estate, I wanted a Mercedes. And I would just obsess about it. Actually, let me go back. When I was young in high school, I didn't even think about it till just now. When I was young in high school, I obsessed over having a Jeep. And I wanted a Jeep Wrangler so bad. And I would remember Auto Trader back in the day was a magazine? I would pick them up and I would look at the Jeeps and just want one so bad. And one day I just drove by this, and I had just gotten my license. And I was driving, I think, my stepdad's truck on Central. And there was like this little lot. And there was a Jeep there, and I stopped. And I talked to the guy, and I got him to like $5,800. And so my dad gave in $2,000, my mom gave in $2,000, and then they lent me like $1,800, and I had to pay it off from a like weekend job. But I'm 15 years old doing this, and so I guess that was probably the first time. But then now fast forward to I wanted a Mercedes, so I just obsessed over it, and yeah, and I got one, and then I got my second one, and then I got my third one. Then I was kind of over it, and I was like, I kind of want a Range Rover. So then I got a Range Rover, but I obsessed over that too when it was time. And then I joined Keller Williams. I'm like, it'd be kind of cool to have a Range Rover that's red and black. So I started obsessing over red and black, and that's what I drive. Well, I drive a diesel truck too, but I also manifested that. And then before, I'd wanted a Bronco. Like, it's just like these things. And like, I live in Tanawan. I obsessed over that for years, and I'm in my third house in Tanawan now. And so, it's just stuff like that. It just kind of, but that's where the shift became, because I said, okay, if I want to become healthy and I want to take my business level to a whole nother, level, I guess I should have said that in the first place. You have to believe it again. I mean, I was already doing well, but I wasn't doing the things I wanted to do. And so that's where the mindset comes in again.
Okay, so ABCs, you're talking to a 10-year-old about manifestation.
I'm bad at explaining things, especially to kids.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Well, okay, explain it to me. Just like, I let's say I want a lake house somewhere in some other state.
Well, so then that'll go to the basics like they teach in The Secret. They basically tell you to look at magazines or Google search an image and you visualize something of like the lake house that you want. But it gets deeper. It's like you have to start, instead of just seeing it, you have to start imagining yourself there and imagining yourself owning those properties and just, maybe rent one for a weekend and it like actually feel what it feels like to be there and wake up in the morning. Because now like I can even like, with the experiences, I can even like visualize waking up on a balcony of some place or I've never even been there, but I can do that. And it just kind of, you have to just be able to have a really good imagination. Let's just put it that way. And kids have that. So.
Yeah, but adults don't. They lose it. So how did you get it back? Like
I've always been a dreamer.
Okay.
Always. And I have a really good imagination and I've always been like that. So I think maybe it's easier,
Yeah.
Because I know the way I was raised, like I mean, we talked about it in the first podcast. I mean, I didn't grow up super, super poor, but I mean, I grew up in a double wide trailer. I didn't have like, I didn't have like this extravagant lifestyle or anything, it was pretty lower class, I'd say. But I mean, we weren't like my parents weren't like poor where they couldn't feed us or anything. But I mean, but I was always like thought bigger and I was like, I'm going to be rich someday. And I don't know why, I don't know where that came from because the family wasn't like that, but I was like, I'm going to be rich someday. And so I guess I kept just thinking that, and it was always how I thought. And even when I was in UNM, I went 6 years, I dropped out. I didn't even get a degree. And then I was going to become a cop, and I was thinking, okay, I'm going to do that. And then I was like, I don't really want to be a cop. Like, I don't know. I need to do, like, I always wanted to be a business owner. I just didn't know what. I remember in college, I started like a little landscaping company. I bought a trailer and I bought some yard tools, and I was marking myself to do that. I started a processing service company, like to serve people like with papers.
Oh, okay.
I had that little company. Like, so I was always starting little businesses, but nothing that I could get big on my own. Then I fell into real estate, and I had told that story in the last one. And when I told my mom I was going to try out real estate, this was 2011, terrible market. It was I wouldn't even say a rebound of 08. It was still the going down. I mean, rebound was probably 13, 14 was when it started kind of climbing back up. Kind of.
Yeah, 13 probably.
Yeah. And so I remember I told my mom, I'm going to get into real estate because I didn't get into the police academy again. And I think it's because my heart wasn't fully there. So there's the manifesting there. But when I got into real estate, I was like, this is going to be tough. And I told my mom, she's like, well, why don't you try going to work for the city or PNM or something with benefits? And I'm like, I don't want to do that. You don't get rich working there. I mean, no offense to anybody who does, but I'm like, I'm not like, that's not what I want, And so I got in real estate, but I was very cautious. I see a lot of these new guys who get in, they see social media, they see the guys, like they see what all of us post with our cars and our watches and all this stuff, driving our custom golf carts around our neighborhood. And they see all that and they think that that's going to happen to them in 6 months. It doesn't. I mean, it took me probably 6-7 years of working every single day to like actually like doing open houses every weekend, like everything, like 7 days a week. It took probably that. And that's in a down market. The guys who got in now in 2019, 2020, I'm like, you guys have it easy. You don't even know what's to come. Yeah. And they're like, oh, it's not that easy. Like even now they think this is a terrible market, which it's not as good, but it's not what we are used to.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, guys, if you think this is bad, just wait. And so yeah, it takes time, but I was cautious when I got in. I wasn't thinking, oh, this lifestyle is, I'm going to make it rich and famous, like all this stuff. But that came with time. And that's why now I do podcasts. I do TV interviews. I have commercials on TV. I do all these things, but it took time. And,
Well, all successful people are just lucky. Just ask someone who's not successful, and they will tell you that. And they will tell you that you were an overnight success. Yeah. And it's like they don't see how boring is success really.
Real boring.
Isn't it?
I mean, think about it. I get up at 4:30 in the morning. You think everybody else is willing to do that? No. And then I get this pushback a lot from people. Well, waking up early is not going to make me successful. So you're right. It's the activities you do. Just because you wake up at this time, and that's what a lot of them think. Oh, I need to wake up early, and that's going to make. I'm like, no. You need to do these activities. Like, you need to get your mindset right in that little bit. You need to, because a lot of people just wake up and they rush, and they like their mindset isn't there because they're rushing. They're not. I mean, I go to the gym. I don't need to go for 2 hours, but I do because I get that done. Because a lot of guys are like, well, I can just sleep in and I'll do the gym in the evening. I said, true, but what if you have an appointment in the evening when you're going to have it? Because no one's going to meet you right now at 5 a.m. But they might want to meet you at 5 p.m. when you go and do your workout. So what are you going to sacrifice, your workout or the appointment? Of course you're going to sacrifice your workout, but then that just sets you back on that. So when I try and tell them, like, it has nothing to do with the time of hour you're waking up. It's the activities that you put into those. But I mean, if someone's going to argue about it, it's almost like, dude, you're already meant to fail. Like, you don't even, like, your mindset's not there.
Yeah.
So it's just, I'm not going to argue with somebody when I try to give them advice. I'm like, then don't ask me.
Right. Yeah. Brian Buffini talks about that a lot. Somebody will ask him for advice and he'll give him a book, and then he sees them 2 months later, 3 months later, and they come to him with the exact same problem. Well, what did you think of the book? Oh, I didn't get to the book yet. And he's like, I'm done. I'm done. You can't help someone who doesn't want the help. They just want, could you just write a check? Yeah. Could you just,
Or tell me the secret, or tell me I'm like, there is nothing. It's, you have to put in, it's like, there's that saying where they say, like, I can't even remember. It's something about the learning is through the experiences. Like, you have to experience it on your own to learn, because you're going to learn all that stuff. You can't just go from here to successful.
Right.
Like, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So.
No, it doesn't. However, that's what people see, and they see that you're successful. And in order for me to not feel bad about myself, because I'm not successful, I have to say that it was luck for you or whatever, right?
Yeah, well, the harder I work, the luckier I get.
That's a fact.
So, I mean, sure, but I still have to put the work in.
Yeah. So what are you listening to when you're in your car?
Now, music. I used to listen to a lot of podcasts and everything, but when I get home, I listen to podcasts. When I'm doing cardio, I listen to motivational videos from Dan Pena, Jordan Peterson, Andrew Tate, which I'm sure a lot of people hate him, but he has some really good advice. Justin Waller, who's one of my coaches, I listen to a lot of his stuff. I just listen to a compilation of these guys, Jocko Willink. Like, I listen to all that. Andy Frisella. Those guys, they're true masculine men, and a lot of people, they get a lot of hate, but they're talking the truth in my mind.
Right.
So, yeah.
Okay, so along your path to the success that you're currently enjoying, did you get knocked down a time or two?
Well, I mean, let's start with the shoulder. That was a big knockdown. And then, like I said, too, I mean, I was living an unhealthy lifestyle. And it was a lot of things that some people will allow that to bring them down. Going through breakups, going through having to, because I moved out of my house, moved back in, I had to do stuff like that. I had to, recover from this surgery. I had to kick alcohol, which was obviously, I enjoyed doing it. So it wasn't hard it was hard to quit that. It's not easy not wanting to eat burgers and pizza and all that stuff too. That's, sometimes it's a lot of that stuff's the easy stuff. Uh-huh. So even though I was doing well in my career, those were still setbacks for me, because I still had to mentally come back from all these things, and come back out of the hospital, come to the office with a sling on and all these things. And I couldn't just jump back into the gym because obviously I was injured. So for the first 6 weeks, I was doing cardio, abs and legs, and I couldn't even do the cardio I liked. I had to walk on the treadmill because I couldn't, with the sling on. So yeah, I mean, I've definitely had a lot, because that messes with you mentally. You're going through all these things. You're trying to figure out, even like people are still figuring out who they are, but you're figuring that out because you're like, man, my whole identity was partying and drinking, and now who am I? Like, I'm gonna go back. Like, I haven't not drank since I was probably 18. Like, that was probably like, I mean, there was months where I didn't drink, but I was a drinker for sure. And so you're figuring out your identity as a person who doesn't drink anymore. And then even dating without being like, hey, let's have that drink to take the edge off. That's a little different.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And so you're genuinely getting to know people, and that can get uncomfortable. But now it's like, it's been almost 7 months since I've drank, and it's not as crazy anymore. But that's also given me that headstrong feeling that, man, I can do anything. Like, if I can come back from these things that knock me down, you can do it. Because I already knew I was strong, but this is just proof that I can anything. Like, nothing will bring me down, hold me down.
Right. Once you've conquered all of those things, and I do think that you could slip. Mm-hmm. What's going to keep you from slipping?
In what?
In any of it, right? You've climbed, and then you're hanging out with your buds, and there's a burger, and you're like, man.
Oh, I mean, the diet thing. I'm not that. If I do, I do. I mean, if I'm doing 75 hard, then no. But if I'm like, if there's something there, I will. But the thing is like I don't know. I went to a birthday party a few months ago, and there was like pizza there. And I was like, oh, there's nothing else. So I had a slice of pizza. That wasn't a big deal. Like, so I mean, I still will, but it's in moderation. Like, I'm not going to make that my habits anymore. Like, when I was not healthy, Mondays I was going to Wendy's. Tuesday I was having tacos. Wednesday I was doing wings. Thursday I was having pizza. Like, I was eating every meal terrible. Like, I'd pick up every meal. And then followed with some beer and some cocktails. And, I was having the time of my life in the evening. Yeah. But it's like, you have to sacrifice that little bit to have a better future. And it's not even coming down to like the money or the success. It's more like, I look at how I look now, and I mean, obviously I'm not completely like ripped or anything, but I like that, like, I look healthier. I like that I'm wearing normal sized clothes again. I just feel better. And that alone is a win.
Oh, it's huge. And it makes everything else in your life better, too.
Yeah, because I don't know if we talked about it on here or if we talked about it off camera, about you can't buy a healthy body. You can't buy a healthy lifestyle. That's like I can buy the watches, the cars, the houses, all this stuff, but I can't buy that. That's something you have to work for. And that alone is a flex. Because,
right.
Right.
I mean, people really do. And I'm one of them. When you see someone who is physically fit, the respect level just immediately goes up, because what it takes to do that. Mm-hmm. There's nobody standing over you telling you, hey, you have to go work out. There's nobody saying, hey, once you work out, I'm going to give you money, or I'm going to, it's like, I just,
Yeah, and it's like, hey, who wants to get up at 4:30 to go do this? Like, most people want to be in bed, and to them, waking up early is 6 a.m. And me, I'm like, man, I'm already like halfway done with my workout by the time you're waking up. And I mean, but there's obviously, I'm not comparing myself to anybody, but I'm just saying, like, it's what do you want to sacrifice, and how much dedication are you going to have to get to where you want? That's really what it is.
So a big part of that is knowing where you want to get. And mm-hmm. I don't think most people take the time to do that. So what has caused you to be able to say, okay, here's my target. This is where I'm going. And you have something that you're working towards, and you know what you're going to, whereas most people are just trying to get through to the day.
Yeah. I guess I just always, going back to my childhood, I always knew I wanted more. And I'm just not satisfied. That's the thing. Is like, I can do a great deal, or I can do whatever, I can accomplish something, but it's never good enough. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I've always had that mentality where nothing was good enough, and I need to get more, and I need to do more, and I need to do better. And that's just like how I've always been. But I wasn't doing more. I was gaining weight, and I was being lazy, and that was not who I wanted to be.
So maybe you got complacent mm-hmm. because you had the financial success. Mm-hmm. But just financial success. And I agree. Like, when I see somebody who's like, 500 pounds and smoking cigarettes, but they're a billionaire, I don't consider that success. It's any minute now you could go. Yeah. And like you said, you can't purchase a new heart when you need one. Yeah. I've got a friend who's been on the list for a new kidney forever, and it's not something that's coming any minute.
Yeah.
So taking care of yourself physically, mentally, emotionally.
Well, it's not even so much like that. It's more like, because, okay, we get one life. And if you're not actually appreciating the moments and taking it in, and like the little thing, like I know it sounds so cliche because I know everybody's probably said it, but it's really true. Because when I was laying in that hospital bed, I'm like, this sucks. Like, this is not fun. I live in the neighborhood I want. I have that custom golf cart. What am I doing? Drinking on the couch? Like, this isn't, I'm not living the life that, like, I could have done that I could have done that in an apartment, not my big house on a golf course. I mean, I have this awesome golf cart. I'm not even using it. I'm not doing anything. Like, it was at the point where I'm like, this is not what my life was meant to be.
So
like,
it's probably one of the best accidents you ever had, huh?
Yeah. And it was, really.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so when somebody gets knocked down, how important is it that they can get back up and that they do?
I mean, you have no choice. But the problem is some people don't have that capacity to do it. I mean, a lot of people do, they get up, but they don't do it with force. And you have to get up with a plan, and how am I going to change this? Because you can. I mean, a lot of people are like, oh, you can't just do it that easily, but you can. You may not be able to change your money situation because, making money, you have to figure that out. And if you don't have certain skills or whatever, I get it. But you can eat healthier. You can exercise more. It doesn't take a whole lot more to change those kinds of actions,
And those small changes, exercising and eating better, will give you the mental capacity to be able to make more money.
Yeah.
Right? I have found that if any area in your life that you improve, it improves all the areas.
Well, because once you start doing that, then your mind starts clearing and getting more positive. And then that's when good things start to happen to you, is when you have that positive mindset. Because, I mean, of course, I still have negative thoughts. I still get mad in traffic. I still get mad at certain things. But it's just, you have to be conscious about it. And, and I mean, obviously, I'm not the most successful person here. I'm not the most successful person in Albuquerque, but I'm in the top percent, I'm sure.
Sure.
And so, I mean, can I do more? Of course. Can I make more money? Sure. But I'm pretty happy with the way things are going right now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So what advice would you give someone who is watching you and they're about to turn 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or whatever, and they're like, man, I'm not real happy with where my life is right now. What are some baby steps that they could take?
Well, they have to realize that they want to change, first of all, because it's the same thing with like alcoholics. You can't force them to stop drinking. They have to want to stop drinking.
Yep.
But that goes with life. Like, no one can force you to do anything. You have to want to do it. A lot of people, like I hear so many people be like, well, I really want to change. I really want to do this now. I really want to do real estate. I'm like, yeah, but are you really willing to do the things it takes? We make it look easy on social media because, of course, we're going to post that. But there's still tons of work that goes behind all that success. And it's hard, and it weighs on you. And I think that's probably where I was too. I think I was just burnt out. And I think that's when I was like, oh, I'm just over it. But then I was like, no, I can't do that. I have so much, I mean, I'm not even 40 yet. I have so much more to go. So really, it's just, to them, this is the youngest you're going to be today.
Whew.
So, you know what I mean? Like,
dang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's kind of, so yeah, you have to start now. Like, you can't do anything. You can't go back.
Right.
So.
Right. Okay. So any final words of wisdom for our audience?
Just, if you want it, you can do it. And you just have to make that commitment to yourself. Because I saw another thing too, where it's like, you have to like you because you're going to be with you the rest of your life. Even your spouse may not be with you forever for whatever reason, like your best friends, no one's going to be there for you except for you. So you need to learn to love yourself because you're the person you're with the rest of your life.
That is really, really very profound because people think that it's not that important. However, the truth is, you've all heard it. I've heard it 100,000 times, and it just hit me really recently that you can't love someone else if you don't love yourself. And we've all heard it. We've probably all said it, but we don't really believe it. And it is so true. You can only love others to the degree that you're able to love yourself.
I may love myself too much, but
I love it. Thank you. Thank you very much. So, guys, if you would like to get to know Sean a little bit better, if you have questions for him, if you're curious about investing, if you're curious about mindset, the best way to actually talk to him is on YouTube. This is a podcast that everybody listens to, but it's also on YouTube. And then you put the comments in there. He can respond to you directly. I can respond to you. We really appreciate that. If this episode has touched you in some way, please share it and let us know and put some comments in there.
And if you have a struggle with anything, I can help you a little bit with something. So
you're a helper.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's cool. That's the new identity.
No,
that's always been that way.
I don't know if I'd say that's an identity, but
not yet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. That's cool. So take him up on it, guys. Thank you.